Hello everyone, how are you? And welcome to office.abhithsiksha. This is class 9 science and we are doing the chapter The Fundamental Unit of Life part 3. So do you remember what we did last class? Let us do a quick recap before starting our today's class. So last class we studied that almost every cell have three main features or three major features. What were the features? The features were cell membrane, nucleus and cytoplasm. And last class we discussed only and only about plasma membrane or cell membrane. So what is the cell membrane? I said that if you imagine a cell to be a room, then the walls of the room will become the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. So what is a plasma membrane? The outermost covering of a cell which protects the inside and the outside, inside from the outside of a cell. Yes. Then it is a semi-permeable membrane. Yes, it is a semi-permeable membrane or a selectively permeable membrane, meaning the exit and the entry of substances through the membrane will be selective. How is the entry and exit done? What is the process involved? The process involved is diffusion, and then after that we also discussed about osmosis and we discussed three solutions. That is, we discussed about hypotonic solution where the cell swells, hypertonic solution where the cell shrinks, and then isotonic solution. This was everything that we discussed last class. In our today's class, we will be discussing these. This is our class content for today. We'll be discussing number 1, cell wall, number 2, importance of cell wall, plasmolysis, nucleus, structure of nucleus, and under structure of nucleus, we will be discussing the nuclear membrane, nucleoplasm, nucleolus. Okay, this is our class content for today, and let us start with cell wall. So cell wall. Cell wall is a topic which we should have completed in the last class. Okay, we should have done this in the last class, but I decided that no, we did a lot last class, so let us keep cell wall for the next. So what is a cell wall? A cell wall is cell wall does not falls under the three major features of a cell. The three major features which are present in almost every cell irrespective of their shape and size. If it is not a part of the three major features, meaning cell wall is not present in almost every cell. Yes. So what is a cell wall? Cell wall, first of all, it is not present in every cell. Cell wall is only and only present in plant cells. Okay. Cell wall is only and only present in plant cells. And cell wall is a rigid structure. It is a rigid structure. Where is it present in a plant cell? It is present in the outside of the cell membrane, and it is made up of a substance known as cellulose. Okay, let us read this and find out more. So cell wall, it is first of all present only and only in plant cell. Only in plant cell. We do not find cell wall in animal cells. We will only find them in plant cells. Then number 2, they are present outside the cell membrane. Outside the cell membrane, meaning in a plant cell we have the cell membrane. Okay, I have a diagram here as well, so let's see the diagram first of all. Cell membrane. This is the cell membrane. Okay, this light green membrane, this is our cell membrane. So where is our cell wall present? Cell wall is present outside the cell membrane. This is the cell wall. It is present outside the cell membrane of a plant cell. Okay. So the light green part is the cell membrane and the dark green part is our cell wall. It is present outside the cell membrane. Next we have, it is rigid. It is not flexible like the cell membrane. The cell wall is rigid. It is almost fixed in shape. It is very rigid. And why is it rigid? It is rigid because it is made up of a substance called cellulose. What is cellulose now? So for that you need to read this box. What is cellulose? Cellulose is a complex structure. We studied that cell membrane is made up of certain things. Yes? We studied that. So what is cell wall made up of? A cell wall is made up of cellulose, and cellulose is a very complex structure. It has a very complex structure which is not required in class 9. We will be studying about cellulose but not in class 9. Let us keep that for our higher classes. Okay. So it is a complex structure and it provides structural strength to the plants. What does it provide? It provides structural strength to the plants. Okay. Now, why do we need cell wall? Not we. Why do plant cells need cell wall? What is the importance of cell wall? Let us study that. So here we have the importance of cell wall. It provides, number one, we have it provides structural strength to the plants. Just now we have studied that cellulose, okay, the substance which makes up the cell wall. Cellulose provides structural support, structural strength, sorry, it gives structural strength. So cellulose, a cell wall is made up of cellulose. Cellulose gives structural strength. So a plant cell is made up of cell wall. So indirectly we can say that a cell wall gives structural strength to the plant cells. Okay. Now why do plant cells need a structural strength? Why do they need a strength? Now cell wall is not present in animal cells. Why? Don't they need any strength? Don't they need any structure and strength? Why do only plants get this facility? So there is a simple answer to that. You see, animals, just like us, we also fall in the animal kingdom. So animals, they have the capacity or they have the ability to move around. We are mobile animals. Okay, we are mobile. Animals are mobile, we can move around. But plants are immobile, they cannot move around. They are fixed at one position. So plants cannot move around. So what happens if we face danger? If we face danger, we first of all observe the danger and we run away. We run away from the danger, right? Or what if we see someone else in danger? We will run towards them to help that person, right? So basically we can move around, we can run around, we can escape from danger, or we can help others from danger. Plants cannot do so. Plants are fixated on a place, on one particular place. They cannot move around, so they are exposed to danger. That is why they need a structural strength. They need strength. They need protection. That's why they need cell wall. And cell wall provides this structural strength to the plant cells or a plant as a whole. Okay. Now number 2, under importance of cell wall, we have cell wall permits cells of plants, fungi, bacteria to withstand hypotonic solution without bursting. It permits these cells to withstand hypotonic solutions without bursting. Do you remember what is hypotonic solution? We studied this last class. Hypotonic solution, hypertonic solution, even isotonic solution, all of these have been covered in our last class. So hypotonic solution, for that you can read this part. Hypotonic solution, what happens? The outside medium of the cell has a higher concentration of water. Higher concentration of water as compared to the inside of the cell. So what will the cell do? The cell will pull water from outside. The cell will take water from outside through osmosis. As a result, the cell will swell. See, that is what is written, right? The outside medium has high water concentration as compared to outside. So the cell will swell. This is hypotonic solution. Remember hypertonic solution? What is hypertonic solution? Hypertonic solution. In hypotonic solution, the cell swells. In hypertonic solution, the reverse of hypotonic takes place. The outside medium has lower concentration of water as compared to the inside medium. As a result, the cell will lose water. The cell will allow water to move out from the cell. As a result, the cell will shrink. Yes? So what is hypotonic? The cell will swell. What is hypertonic? The cell will shrink. The cell will shrink. In terms of animal cell, the entire cell will shrink. But in terms of plant cell have what? We have the cell. Cell is covered with the cell membrane. Outside the cell membrane, the plant cells have cell wall as well. So under hypertonic solution, if we place a plant cell in a hypertonic solution, what the plant cell will do? First of all, it will lose water by osmosis. The cell will shrink. When the cell will shrink, the inside content of the cell, that will shrink. the plasma membrane or the cell membrane will shrink. But the cell wall is a rigid structure. It is not flexible like the cell membrane. So the cell wall will not shrink. Okay. Only the cell membrane along with the cell content will shrink. The cell wall will remain in its place because it is made up of cellulose and it is a rigid complex. So the cell wall will not shrink. Clear? As a result, there will be a gap. There will be a gap between the cell wall and the cell membrane. Okay? And this entire phenomena, we have a name for this phenomena. This entire phenomena is known as plasmolysis. Okay, this entire phenomena is known as plasmolysis. So what is plasmolysis? Plasmolysis is the shrinkage. See, it is the shrinkage or contraction of cell content. Shrinkage or contraction of cell content away from the cell wall. Away from the cell wall due to loss of water through osmosis. And when will a cell lose water? Only and only in a hypertonic solution. This it is a phenomena in living plant cell. It is a phenomena in living plant cell. Why a living cell? Because a cell needs to take in water, lose water. For that we need a living plant cell. Why plant cell specifically? Because animal cells do not contain a cell wall. So even though a animal cell lose water or gain water, there will be no plasmolysis taking place because there will be no gap. It does not even have a cell wall, so where will the gap be created? There will be no gap. Okay, so it is a phenomena taking place only in living plant cell. This phenomena is what? This phenomena is the shrinkage of the cell contents. Okay, here I have a diagram as well. Now look here, this is a normal, I am writing N here, this is a normal cell under normal conditions. Okay, as you can see, the cell membrane and the cell wall, they are very close together. Okay, they are very close together. Then suppose we are keeping this cell in a hypertonic solution. So what the cell will do? The cell will lose water. The cell will allow water to move from inside the cell to outside the cell. Yes, so it is kept in a hypertonic solution, and in the second picture you can see that the cell is shrinking. The cell content, the cell membrane along with its content is shrinking. See, this is the cell, and where is the cell wall? This is the cell wall. There is a little gap between the two. Can you see? There is a little gap between the two. In the third figure, we see that the gap has broadened. The gap is bigger now. See? So what is this? This is plasmolysis. Okay, what is this? This is plasmolysis. Now why are we directly jumping from cell wall to plasmolysis? Because we discussed that a cell wall protects a cell, or it allows a cell to survive in a hypotonic solution. We studied that, we discussed that point. So what happens in an hypertonic solution? A cell will shrink. If a plant cell shrinks too much, it will lose its structure. Yes, it will lose its structure. But the cell wall will prevent this from happening. You see, the cell is shrinking, but the structure of the cell, the overall structure of the cell is still intact. So who is helping in that? The cell wall is helping in keeping the structure intact. Again, if the same cell is placed in a hypotonic solution where the cell will swell up, in that case what happens? The cell wall will protect the cell from bursting. You see, a cell, when you keep it in a hypotonic solution, it will swell up. What if it swells up too much? What if it is taking in water and it swells up too much? So there is a high risk of that cell to burst. Okay, how will it burst? It will take up water, it will take in water, and it will build up a pressure. Okay, this pressure will be exerted towards the cell wall. But what the cell wall will do? The cell wall will apply an equal and opposite pressure towards the cell membrane. So both the forces will get cancelled, and ultimately the cell wall will protect the cell from bursting. So now do you understand this point? So now can you understand this point, that it permits cells of plant, fungi and bacteria to withstand hypotonic solution without bursting? Yes. So how does it do so? Cell wall will give an equal and opposite force to the cell membrane. So that is how it will protect the cell from bursting. It will defend the cell, and if the cell shrinks too much, the cell wall will make sure that its structure is still intact. Okay. So are you clear what is cell wall, what is the importance of cell wall, and are you also clear with plasmolysis? If you are clear, then very good. Okay. Now important points to remember under cell wall is that it is only present in plant cell. It is only present in plant cell, not in animal cell. And because of this reason, due to this reason, it does not falls under the three major features, because in animal cells we will not find cell wall. Okay. So this is everything about cell wall. We need to study about nucleus next. What is nucleus? Nucleus falls under the three major features that every cell possesses. Three major features, meaning a nucleus is present in almost every cell irrespective of their shape and size. Now whenever we observe a cell under a microscope, we cannot observe cell via our naked eyes, so we need a microscope to observe it. So whenever we observe a cell under a microscope, we always stain the cells. What do? We always stain the cells. Why do we stain cells? So that we can properly visualize, we can properly observe the contents within the cell. Staining helps in that, in proper observation, okay, in distinct vision. So there are different staining materials, there are different staining solutions. For example, we have safranin, we have methylene blue. Okay, there are many solutions which we can use to stain a cell. So what we do, we take a cell, we stain it first, and then we observe it under the microscope. So when we do so, we will find that there is a dark oval or spherical structure which is present in the center part of the cell. And in most cell, this dark spherical structure is very big, okay, as compared to the other components of the cell, it is comparatively bigger. So what is this dark spherical structure which is present in the center of the cell? This is known as the nucleus. Okay, so what is a nucleus? It is a spherical, see, it is a spherical or oval. Okay, it is spherical or oval in shape. And then second point we have, it is present in the central region. It is present in the central region of a cell. And the nucleus is also known as the brain of the cell. It is also known as, or it is also called the brain of the cell, or we can also call it the headquarter of the cell, or the control unit of the cell. Control unit. So nucleus, it is the brain of the cell, the headquarter of the cell, or the control unit of the cell. Now why do we call nucleus to be the brain of the cell? Because for example, human beings, where the destination where we are walking to, suppose, who tells us that where we need to walk to? Our brain will tell us that you need to go left, you need to go right. Our brain will tell us that if we are hungry, we need to grab a sandwich or biscuit. Yes, our brain will tell you that okay, your body is very tired, you need some sleep. So our brain tells us everything, what to do, how to do, okay, where we should do that thing. So our brain is the control unit. Similarly, in a cell, the control unit is the nucleus. The nucleus will tell the cell everything, like what to do, how to do, and where to do. In fact, it will also tell the cell how new cells will be produced and what the new cells are going to have in them. So all this information, all these instructions are given by the nucleus, and that is why the nucleus is known as the brain of the cell, headquarter of the cell, or the control unit of the cell. Now look here, this is the general representation of a cell. We have studied plasma membrane. The first major feature that every cell possesses, plasma membrane, is done. Plasma membrane, also known as cell membrane. The second major feature is the nucleus. Where is nucleus? This, in the central region of the cell, we will find a big spherical or oval structure. Okay, so whenever we stain a cell, the deeper, darker section in the central region, whatever we see there, so that spherical or oval structure is the nucleus of the cell, the brain of the cell. Okay, now let us learn more about nucleus. We need to learn more about nucleus, so let's see what do we have. So structure of nucleus. What does a cell made up of? A cell has cell wall. Oh sorry, not all cells have cell wall, so we cannot say that a cell is made up of cell wall. So every cell possesses a cell membrane, it has a nucleus, it has cytoplasm, which we will study in the next class probably. Okay, that part we'll study in the next class. So these three features along with many more makes up the cell. What does a nucleus made up of? What is there inside the nucleus? So there are three important components of the nucleus. What are the components? Number one, we have nuclear membrane. A nucleus possesses a nuclear membrane. Number two, we have the nucleoplasm, and number three, we have nucleolus. A nucleus, it has nuclear membrane, nucleoplasm and nucleolus. Now what is a nuclear membrane? Nuclear membrane, does it sound similar to a cell membrane? What was a cell membrane? Outer covering of a cell which protects the cell. The inside and the outside of the cell, they are divided with the help of the nuclear membrane. Sorry, with the help of the cell membrane. So nuclear membrane is similar to that thing. Nuclear membrane is present in the nucleus. It is the outside border, boundary or the protective cover of a nucleus, and it separates the inside and the outside of the nucleus. Okay, this nuclear membrane is a double layer membrane. See, it is a double layer membrane. Okay, it is a double layer membrane and it has some pores in it. It has some pores in it. These pores help in the movement of substances from outside the nucleus to inside and from inside the nucleus to outside. These pores help in the transport or the movement of substances in and out of a nucleus, and it is a double layer membrane. See in the structure, this is a nucleus. Okay, this is not a cell, this is the nucleus of a cell. Nucleus of a cell, it has a double layer membrane. This is the first layer, this is the second layer. Again we have one layer, two layer, here also one layer, two layer, and there are pores in between them. See, we can see gaps in between them, right? Those are the pores. And since it is a double layer membrane, that is why we also call it a nuclear envelope. This is a double layer membrane, so we also call this double layer membrane to be a nuclear envelope. It has pores which help in the entry and exit of substances. Okay, so this is the nuclear membrane. Now there are more things present inside the nucleus, right? Nuclear membrane. Then we have the nucleoplasm. What is a nucleoplasm? What is a nucleoplasm? Nucleoplasm is the fluid present inside the nucleus. Okay, nucleus is not a hollow substance. It is not a hollow structure. Okay, it does not have a hollow structure. There is fluid content inside the nucleus. So this fluid content is known as nucleoplasm. See, it is the fluid present inside the nucleus. Inside the nucleus there are fluid, and this is known as nucleoplasm. Under normal conditions, normal condition meaning when the cell is in a normal state, when it is not dividing, when it is not undergoing cellular division or cellular respiration, cellular reproduction, sorry. When it is in an undivided state, when the cell is not undergoing division, under that condition, it will contain chromatin material. So, in normal conditions, the nucleoplasm of the nucleus of a cell will contain chromatin material. What is chromatin material? Do you know what is chromatin material? So, let's see here. Chromatin material. Chromatin material, it is a thread-like structure. Okay, it has a thread-like structure and it is present in a very meshed up. It is present as a mesh. Okay, it does not have a proper structure of its own. It is a thread-like structure. See, it is a thread-like structure present in the form of an entangled mass. It is entangled. Okay, we do not find it separately one by one. It is present in the form of an entangled mass. This is known as chromatin material. If you look at the diagram over here, this is the nucleus. Yes, this is the nucleus. We have the nuclear envelope or the nuclear membrane, and then inside that all this thread-like structure that you can see all this thread-like structure. These are all entangled. Yes, these thread-like structures you cannot separate out one by one. It is in a form of an entangled mass. So this entangled mass is known as chromatin. What is this? This is chromatin. Where is chromatin present? It is present in the nucleoplasm. And what is nucleoplasm? The fluid of the nucleus. Okay, this is chromatin. So what happens when a cell undergoes division? We have discussed that when the cell is in normal condition, we will find this thread-like entangled mass, which is known as chromatin. What if the cell is undergoing division? Will we still find chromatin? So during cell division, during cellular division, during cellular reproduction, we will find that this entangled mass, this chromatin, it will get organized. Okay, it will get organized to form chromosomes. Okay, let's read this. When the cell is undergoing cellular division, chromatin material, the entangled mass, those threads, okay, the chromatin material gets organized. They will organize into chromosomes. Chromosomes have a rod-like structure. Okay, how do a chromosome looks like? A chromosome looks like this. Okay, this is a chromosome. It has a rod-like structure. Chromosomes contain DNA. DNA, a very popular word. Yes. So where is DNA present? DNA is present in these chromosomes. Okay. Chromosomes contain DNA. An important point here. Chromosomes contain DNA, and what is DNA? The full form of DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. This DNA is known as the genetic material. Okay. It is a substance which gets transferred from one generation to the other, from parents to offsprings. It gets transferred. So it is a genetic material, and it will carry genes. Now what are genes? See, one functional unit of DNA is called a gene. So let me sum up this entire paragraph. Okay, nucleoplasm has chromatin material under normal conditions. When the cell is undergoing cellular division, then those same chromatin material, they will get organized to form chromosomes. Chromosomes will contain DNA. Okay, DNA. So deoxyribonucleic acid. These are the genetic material, and one functional unit of DNA is known as gene. Are you clear with this? One functional unit of DNA is known as, or it is called as, gene. How does a DNA looks like? A DNA looks like this. It has a double helical structure. It has a double helical structure. See this spiral structure, this is not a spiral structure, it is called as a double helical structure, and this is what a DNA looks like. Okay, so are you clear with this? Now there was one more component of nucleus. There was one more component, which was that it's the nucleolus. Okay, now remember, in a cell we have the brain of the cell, which is the nucleus. Inside this nucleus we have another brain of the nucleus. This brain of the nucleus is known as nucleolus, and it is spherical in shape. So what is nucleolus? Nucleolus is the brain of a nucleus. This nucleolus will tell the nucleus what to do. A nucleus will give instruction to the cell. A nucleolus will give instruction to the nucleus. Okay, so indirectly we can say that the nucleolus is the brain of the nucleus. It contains RNA and protein. What is RNA? DNA was deoxyribonucleic acid. RNA is ribonucleic acid. Cut the deoxy part from DNA, you will get RNA. Okay, do not get confused. Deoxyribonucleic acid, that is DNA, and ribonucleic acid, that's RNA. Where is RNA present? In nucleus, in nucleolus, we will find RNA and protein. And what is the major function of nucleolus? The major function or the primary function is to make ribosomes and proteins. It makes ribosomes and also proteins. Are you clear? So let us go back to the structure of the nucleus. The double layer membrane known as the nuclear envelope. Then we have the chromatin material. This entangled mass, it is the chromatin material. Yes, and this spherical structure, this spherical or this oval structure inside the nucleus, this is the nucleolus, the brain of the nucleus. Are you clear with this? Properly? Okay. So this is all about nucleolus. Okay. Now, that was almost everything that we need to discuss in our today's class. What did we discuss? We discussed about cell wall, and then we came to nucleus and the three major components of nucleus. So let us sum up today's class. Okay. So we learned that what is a cell wall? It is a rigid membrane present outside the cell membrane. So not every cell have a cell wall. Only plant cell will possess this cell wall. It provides structural strength and also helps to withstand hypotonic solution. Why structural strength? Because plants are immobile and they need protection from danger. Then we studied that nucleus is the brain of the cell, which has a porous double layer membrane, also known as nuclear envelope. A fluid called nucleoplasm, where we will have chromatin material, and then a nucleolus, the brain of the nucleus. So this is everything that we discussed in our today's class, and in our next class we will be going one step further and we will be discussing about the fluid present inside the cell, the third major feature that every cell possesses. So we will be studying about that. So this is all for today. Thank you for joining our today's class, and I will see you in the next.